Mimi, Mimi. Welcome to another episode of the Admin and Tom on the Crawford Podcasting Network. Haven't talked, I don't know, about 10 days or so, a
Been a
variety of
while.
reasons, but that's all right. We got a lot to cover. Our the, On again, off again, our two basketball programs. They're almost in sync.
Yeah.
Maybe opposite sync. When one wins, the other loses. I'm not sure, but you know, you and I are very similar. Sometimes, like get the season over with moments, and then hey, I like this team.
Yeah.
It's like fickle finger of college basketball. Nice win for Sparty over Maryland. Senior day, they got senior day down to a science. I think they won several in a row.
Yeah.
I think they've only lost one or two in the Izzo regime. So, where are you at right now? Let's just start with that, and then we'll probe into some other areas.
Well, I think you said it. I mean, who knows what to expect from either team on a given day? I was joking around it with you. One day I sent you a text. I said I hate this team regarding my own team, and then they go out and play a great game. And then what I sent you, I said I love this team.
I think when they beat Purdue,
Yeah,
yeah, when they beat Purdue, yeah,
love this team.
yeah.
Who knows what to make of it? We got Maryland again. Can you beat them 3 times? I know that's the old sports cliche. Third time's a hard time. I don't know. I'm watching the game the other night and I'm like, hey, Danny Manning, I'm not here to tell you how to do your job, but I think I could post up Michigan State big men down low the way these guys in the Big Ten are doing. But you keep shooting the three, if that's what you want to do. But I thought it was a bad strategy by them, although it almost brought them back when they did get hot from three. But who knows what to expect? I don't know. I wouldn't put any money on the game. I wouldn't bet any money on Michigan State beating Maryland. So I don't know what to think.
No, I agree with your. If I'm going to attack Michigan State, I do it like Michigan did a few days prior with Hunter Dickinson, his
Yeah.
best outing. If you have a guy who's productive down low, I would just go at Michigan State down and then try to simmer down there. They're pushing the ball off the rebound or off the made basket. Doesn't matter. They push. That's how I would offset Michigan State. But speaking of Bingham and that whole trio, Marcus Bingham, Gabe Brown, Joey Hauser. Okay, how are you going to remember them, and where do you evaluate their career stints at Michigan State?
Well, I see Gabe got third team All Big Ten, which was a bit of a shock. Coaches, which
Yeah,
was surprising. I'm happy for him. I mean, I know the kid works hard.
he does
I,
work hard.
I didn't know the coaches were that high in him to give him third team. I thought Michigan State was going to get shut out first, second, and third team. I thought we'd get an honorable mention or two, maybe a Malik
Yeah,
Hall in there.
yeah. Well,
Um,
there's so many good players.
yeah. So Gabe, high energy guy. When he gets hot, he can fill it up, but it goes on long stretches where he doesn't make a lot. Um, a guy who, solid contributor to the program, but didn't quite reach, I guess, at least fan expectations.
Yeah,
Is kind of how I look at it.
not highly acclaimed guys, Bingham and Brown. Hauser was as a transfer.
Oh yeah. But then he had to sit out that year. That didn't help. And then there was a lot that went into
A
that.
lot of moving parts.
Here's the thing with Hauser, though. He's actually shooting the ball really well in the last like 8 to 10 games. He's hitting over 50% of threes. He's being more selective. But the one thing we didn't get out of Hauser was a tough guy underneath to get rebounds and I think that's where he kind of fell short.
He wasn't that Matt Costello type guy.
Yeah, but who wants to get in there and bang around?
Yeah, that's
And,
what Matt Costello was.
he hustles for the ball. Don't get me wrong, but he's just not a banger guy that gets in there and is going to fight like hell for a rebound. But hey, let me tell you something. Joey Hauser has been a nice, kind of under the radar scorer in the last about 10 games. He's been stroking it pretty good. Bingham was always kind of like, in his younger days, kind of the clown on the sidelines, like the cheerleader.
And so freaking skinny. He's gained 30 pounds since he got there.
Right. kind of goofy guy, loves to party up on the sidelines. I'm not sure he ever really shook that.
Yeah.
But he's got the block record for what that's worth. That's kind of an empty record in some ways. But where I would just assume he would just position himself and not go for the block every time. Um, but again, another hardworking kid. I think he and Izzo went head to head quite a bit. Took a while to kind of understand each other, from what I can tell. Um, but I mean, there were parts of teams that were very successful. They were just younger. They were role players, and sometimes these role players aren't meant to be the alpha dogs,
Right.
and they just don't have what it takes to get there for whatever reason.
So last year, Michigan State was 19-15, got into the tournament, got into the play-in game with UCLA, eventual national finalist. Okay. And so, going into this year, the expectations actually were not high. Michigan State unranked. Then they overachieved, and then they overachieved and underachieved in the same year. It was weird. I mean, they dropped 5 of 6, 7 of 9, whatever the thing was, sputtered down the stretch. Where are you at looking back at this year, and where are you at for Izzo's remaining stint as head coach?
Well, this year, I think you described it pretty good. Underrated and then surprised. All of a sudden,
And then disappointed again.
right? And so your expectations change throughout the season. You know that very well. I think the low point was Penn State
That was.
getting
Yeah.
out rebounded by who's that kid, that just all hustle kid.
John Hara, that looks
Yeah.
like a tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, and then another low point was Joey Brunk the other night. You know what the worst part about the Joey Brunk thing was? It got to the point where they would throw him the ball in the post, and all the fans would rise to their feet.
Yeah.
Like, here, oh, isn't this cute? How, like, it was like Michigan State. Their post defense was kind of a laughing stock, where they were
Now here it comes. Yeah.
throwing it into the guy who averages 1 point a game, and the fans would be like it was a walk-on guy who was
Yeah.
scoring.
On senior day or something like that.
Yeah, and so that was kind of demoralizing. It's like, are we kind of a laughing stock here, where Joey Brunk is getting the ball and the fans are going berserk every time he touches it?
Yeah.
So that was a low point. But again, you got the Purdue win, you got the Wisconsin win, you got the Michigan win.
Did the Michigan loss the other night?
Oh, we're going to talk about that?
Well, I mean, that's the most recent one. You're talking about the Michigan win, the Michigan loss. Is that just did you not have expectations going into that game, or that it was going to be that, getting to double digits so quick? Did that surprise you?
Well, Izzo's philosophy is always, hey, you don't double the big guy down low. You let him get his points. We've talked about that, right? You let the guy, you let the
and don't get hit by the 3. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get hit by the 3. But at some point, when the guy is hitting everything, nothing's going off the back iron, nothing's coming up short, he's scoring at will. At some point, as stubborn as you like to be with that philosophy, I think you gotta change up. You gotta rake, even if you're faking double teaming, just don't let the guy move in and you're giving up ground, and then it's
dunk on you.
Super easy. So that was another low point, I think, was just how easy it was for Dickinson to score. Which is why I go back to Danny Manning. Like, yeah, keep shooting the 3, Danny Manning. I realize you may not have the best post guys, but I would attack the post if I were playing Michigan State.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what he does on Thursday. This is the craziness of the Big Ten tournament. That's at 6:30, I think, on Thursday night. A day and a half from now, you'll find out Michigan State does not, with 20 wins, they're pretty safe.
Yeah.
Michigan's kind of safe. If they don't lose to Indiana, I mean, if they beat Indiana, they can sleep well on selection Sunday eve.
Right.
If they don't, you just never know with these crazy mid-major tournaments. And if you get a single bid league becomes a double bid league, and there goes one at-large bid just like that.
Yeah, I think you guys are safe, unless, like what you said, the scenario is there's a lot of upsets in
There's some crazy
the
crap
tournament.
can go on.
Yeah. But you guys are always going to get the benefit of the doubt. So unless you lose to Indiana by 25 uh, and just get rocked, and then there are some upsets, you guys are safe. So I wouldn't lose too
I
much.
hope
I
you're
know you
right.
gotta sweat it out. I get that, but you guys will be in.
So, where are you at with Big Ten tournaments? I mean, do you want to have your team win a couple games, but then get back and rest up for the NC2As, or
You
how
got to
important?
win. You got to win one game at least. That's my thought on it. Is you don't want to just go in there and lay an egg and be done.
Yeah.
The whole thing about is it better to lose and get rest and that kind of thing. I don't know. The worst thing you want to do is get to the title game and lose it
Okay.
because now you don't have a banner and you're super tired and you don't have that much recovery time. So the worst thing you can do is go to the title game, lose the title game.
Okay. So you always see that scenario. January, February, and then March is called Izzo month. Okay.
Mm,
Well, you've seen that graphic.
sure.
So, and that's held true. I mean, there's no question about
Not
it.
always, but mostly.
Do you feel that this team could make a run? If not the Big Ten tournament, the NC2A, get out of the first weekend. It probably could because it's a crazy team. It can beat anybody and lose. I mean, I'm trying. AJ Hogarth, one of the players, said we can win, we can beat anybody or lose anybody. It's true. You can lose to bad teams. You can beat really good teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna
What's your expectation in the
I'm going to tell you
NC2A?
something, and you're going to laugh at me, and justifiably so. When on the heels of Michigan State beating Purdue,
Yeah.
okay, played almost a perfect game. Everyone playing great. I said I'm taking a flyer on this team, and
Flyer.
now don't misunderstand what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I said I'm going to put $20 on them winning the whole damn thing.
Really?
Now it's
Why?
20
Why?
bucks.
Why not? I mean, what?
That's
What's $20?
right, right. And not that I really am expecting them to do it. I'm just saying for $20, it's worth. It's like you said, this team, if they could ever just figure it out, they could be a really, really dangerous team.
They don't have an alpha dog on this team.
I
They don't
know.
have a guy that you can really count on to lead this team for 40 minutes every outing. And
Right.
maybe most teams don't. I don't know. But I mean,
I think
this team is more alpha dog less
yeah,
than any team I can recall. Maybe last year's team didn't have it either. Because when
right, right,
Cassius left, there was a huge void that has not been replaced.
correct. I think Izzo wanted it to be Gabe or Malik. I don't think he ever expected Bingham. And what Michigan State has is a lot of really nice kids.
Well, that's
Now,
great. That's great for going on in the corporate world and
yeah,
in everyday life. But I mean, sometimes you need somebody with an edge, right?
now you need Mateen, you need Scott Skiles, you need kind of an asshole at times, um, who will get in people's faces, their own teammates' faces, and
Yeah.
threaten them, like Mateen used to do to Morris Peterson.
Shove
And a
them
guy,
up against the locker
yeah, yeah,
down at the
and
Palace.
yeah. What was that Syracuse game? Um,
Yeah, that was in the Sweet 16, I think.
yeah. So this team is a bunch of sweethearts, and they're really nice kids, from what I gather, and uh, they just don't have it in their personality. Here's a frustrating thing: Malik Hall. Can you imagine having as much talent as Malik Hall, but
Very,
seemingly seems
yeah,
so
cerebral.
un,
Some, yeah.
confident about your abilities,
I wouldn't call him incompetent. Um,
unsure of himself?
um, I don't know. He
Won't
just
look
not
a
he
pro.
maybe just not assertive all the time. Maybe it's one and the same thing. He doesn't have a snarl look to his face. He's got this stoic look all the time.
He talks a little bit of junk out there. I've seen him a couple times say something, but it's almost like in passing. And again, I'm not. Listen, I don't need a Hunter Dickinson attitude, going crazy and making a
Yeah.
big scene after he scores a bucket. Which, by the way, I don't know where you find these assholes.
Whoa,
Every
oh,
year, you
he
guys
used that. He
find
used the A word back to back in the
right.
span of 2
Yeah.
minutes.
Feeling,
I'll have to tag this
a-
on YouTube to make sure it's not all for kids. Just so
feeling a
you
little
know,
sassy this morning, apparently.
I
Uh,
guess.
but yeah, we got a lot of nice guys, but I'd love for them to just, and it's probably too late in the season, but somehow develop it. Somehow just say, we're going to win this damn thing, and I'm
Right.
going to lead us and get on my back. Whether it's
Yeah.
Malik, whether it's Hogard. Hogard has a little bit of that at times, whether it's Gabe. Um,
Do you need better players?
yeah.
Do you need
Whether
better
it's
players?
recruiting. Yeah, of course. Whether it's recruiting,
I
whether
mean,
it's
do you think
development.
it? Do you think it? You know, I was watching highlights of the Big Ten Network saying, you know, the 15, 16 teams, some of these teams, and that 19 team, that was a great game, Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament. I think that was an absolute classic game. And the one prior, that semifinal in the Madison Square Garden, both teams had a lot of talent. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I know Max Christie was a highly touted player, but when you look at, and maybe we weigh too much on these, you know, ratings and 4 stars and fives. I think they've slipped down a notch in terms of sheer out of high school talent level that they've got. Is that a
Well,
fair statement?
Max Christie's a 5-star. He'll be
That's
there.
what I
He's
mean.
just
I qualified that. Other than Max Christie,
yeah. Yeah, but just let's stay on Max for a second. He'll be there. I expect a big jump next year. He's just thin, and again, he's not a banger right now, and maybe he won't be, but he's a little too fast. But here's another thing. If Max Christie was playing with the Cassius group, he'd be getting 15 minutes a game, and he'd be coming in fresh off the bench
yeah.
and
So it
nailing
slipped
jumpers.
down.
But he plays so much now because Izzo likes his defense and his scoring ability. I think he just gets worn down. And, these guys aren't used to playing this many games.
Well, here's the other thing. Caleb Houston in the Michigan scenario is getting 32 minutes when he offers. You know,
Yeah,
once again, because they need him. I mean, that they don't have a lot of other you know, they don't they don't have Isaiah Livers on the team anymore, or Shawnee Brown. You know, some of these guys they had. I mean, 4 guys that are in the NBA. So when you step down in overall talent, then that incoming freshman is going to play more than you thought he should,
yeah,
or that he actually should. I mean,
yeah. You can't ease them into it. You can't ease them in. I saw Houston. Didn't he go like 0 for 10 against? In
he
that
went
big
0
win
for
at Penn
10 and
State?
he got 32 minutes. Why?
Yeah,
Well, he did some. He just. I mean, they had 11 steals in the game, and he junked it up a little bit defensively, and I get that. But yeah, I mean, these are head scratchers. I mean, this Michigan State tandem of teams, and they've been fun to watch. You know, the fans were back in it. It's fun to go to the arena and things like that. But it's been a strange year. It's just been different because you can't put two good games. Michigan can't put 2 good games together since they haven't won back to back since early February. Michigan State
same.
was doing really good they did all their homework. They got all their prerequisite work done for the NCAA tournament. When you beat Wisconsin up in Madison, when you beat UConn, things like that. And so they didn't have to do their homework down the stretch, but it's been a strange ending for Michigan State because March they do finish typically strong.
Right.
And it'll be interesting. Maybe the Maryland game at home, and then the Maryland game on the road. Maybe they can win a couple games in Indy, and then who knows what happened. They got no pressure on them, that's for sure, because they don't
Right.
have any anticipation.
Give me one win in the Big Ten tournament, and can I ask for 2 wins in the Big Dance?
Well, you get to the Sweet 16. That's
Get
a
to
hell
the
of a
next
count.
weekend, and then, hey, if something good happens after that, great. If not, you go, hey, Sweet 16, not the end of the world.
Sweet 16. Sweet 16 for this team would be a hell of an over accomplishment. You're
Yeah,
not ranked right now.
yeah.
You know,
And yet you're talking to a guy who put $20 on them to win the whole thing. So
well, you just did that for shits and grins. Come on.
I was caught up in the moment of the Purdue, but in the back of my mind, I think it's such a weird year. There's no dominant
What
team.
what, what were the odds on Michigan State winning the national championship again? At for 20 $20.
I think I win
It was two.
2,000 if I win.
So it was
And it was 10,000 to one, meaning if you put $100 down, you'd win 10,000.
wow.
It's 10,000 to one. So I put $20 down. Just make it interesting.
Well, good luck to you on that.
Thank you. Be a nice $2,000 payout. That'd be the least of my happiness if they won the whole
So
thing.
if Michigan State loses in the Big Ten tournament, will you watch any more of the Big Ten tournament? As soon as they're eliminated in the Big Ten tournament, are you done watching the Big Ten tournament?
Maybe the title game.
Okay.
Title
When
game,
Mich-
just because the title game leads right into the selection show.
Okay.
It's-
Yeah. Okay. So you watch the title. Okay. When Michigan State is eliminated from the NCAA tournament, do you watch how much more of the NCAA tournament? Do you take a round off? Sometimes I have to take a round off because it stinks.
Well, again, it goes down to expectations. If you're a number one seed and you lose a second game, now you're like the whole
When you
thing
lost to
stinks.
Middle Tennessee State, did you watch the next round?
No, I didn't. I don't think I watched anything after that.
That was done. Was that
yeah.
the most devastating departure for you for Michigan State, losing to Middle Tennessee State in what 2016?
I watched that at Reno's East with a bunch of people, and
I was at the Blue Gale Grill, not too far
Yeah.
away from at a remote broadcast.
and I got there a little late. And it's one of those things where you're at a table with a bunch of guys, and you're watching the game, but there's also conversations. And
How could there be
I wasn't-
conversations in the NCAA tournament?
I wasn't really locked into the game like I would be if I was just sitting by myself or.
Wow.
And you just kept seeing them score ridiculous basket after just crazy shots. And it was like we were prepping ourselves. This is not going well. It wasn't like it was a shock. It was in the first half. You were like, Michigan State may lose this game. So yeah, it was a crusher because of the team we had.
Right.
There have been other devastating ones, later on in the tournament that, the Butler game with Draymond. That was a tough one because you'd have gone to the title game. But yeah, it's up there.
Well, the one in I thought the one to UConn in let's see, what was that? 14. Was it 14? Yeah, 14. Michigan both lost on the same day. They lost in they lost in the Elite Eight that day. I think they were both one step from the Final Four. Michigan State lost to UConn at MSG, and then Michigan lost to Kentucky. I'm not sure where that game was played at on a last-second shot. They both got eliminated. Both would have been in the Final Four. They would have met in the title game. And I think we were all bracing ourselves.
Oh,
like,
right.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
I mean, I was already seeing a therapist or scheduling one. Lost Michigan State in the Final Four.
I think I was having trouble sleeping just with that in front of me.
I mean, though that was a day that we both stung on that. But I both think it was a misery loves company. We both were glad the other one lost.
Oh,
Fair
for sure.
Fair statement.
Now,
Anyway,
what are your expectations? What are you thinking for Michigan Big Ten tournament? And
well, I think they'll beat
What do you guys
Indiana.
think?
I don't think Illinois is a bad matchup with Kofi Coburn and then the Corbella and those great guards and Frazier. Oh my God, and Plummer. I think they'll play better than they did in Ann Arbor. And who knows? I don't know. How would I answer that question? It's on again. I mean, my God, they played better without Hunter Dickinson in Columbus, and they played perhaps with him.
And without John Howard.
Yeah, and I just because their spacing was ideal. So I have no idea what to expect. I'm already looking forward to. I'm not wishing away this year, but I'm looking forward to next year. I think it's going to be a different kind with Jet Howard coming on board. I think it's going to be a different kind of team, a more fast-paced team with Hunter leaving, and so I'm already in that mindset. But I have no expectation at all, none. Could be a one and done. They could slink out 2 wins. That's just the way they are. They're a weird freaking team.
So if I told you right now, Michigan wins 2 games in the NCAA tournament, you would take it and run.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
What about 1 win?
I'd almost take that. Yeah, I don't know. Be nice to get out of the first weekend if you're in the tournament, because
That's
then
the
when
best.
you're in the Sweet 16, it's a whole nother level of exposure that you get
Right. You got
because
the
then you're
whole week. You got all week of all the stories, all
all
of the
the you feature now in 2022 is like getting to the final or the Elite Eight was maybe 20 years ago in terms of
right.
sheer exposure. It's just ramped up. And everybody plays the bracket. Everybody's got a bracket, even though they're not a college basketball fan. And it's just good for the school. And I like it.
You're still in the discussion.
Yeah.
You've got all of the little features on your players.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got all the newspaper articles.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you can't buy that kind of publicity,
You
and so
can't.
that's why you got to at least get to the Sweet 16. Even if you lose that first game in the Sweet
Yeah.
16,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. But to get there, you've got all that extra exposure, which is super key. Not that our programs need exposure, but you just to be relevant.
You want to stay relevant. You
You know,
want to stay relevant. You want the name out there
yes.
all the time, you know. Anyway, Stevie, great job again. We'll talk next week. Well, we might slot these in different time slots, relevant to the NC2A. Maybe we'll just do a week from today and preview the NC2A tournaments
Pretty good.
and get projections and bask in what maybe happened or did not happen in the Big Ten tournament. You never know. So great job again. The Ad Man and Tom Crawford Podcasting Network. Steve Adler always brings it strong with humor and intel, and he did not fail us once again. Great
Go
job,
great,
Stevie.
Go
See
great.
ya.